Do you want to do the intro, or do you want me to do the intro?
Up to you. Do I do the intro, or do
You get to choose
not?
now.
And remind me what we say. Welcome to Coast to Coast. From the East Coast to the West Coast and every team in between. Welcome into Coast to Coast.
We are breaking down every division leading into the 2026 season. We did the AL West last week. This week, we have the AL Central, everybody's favorite division, the AL Central. So, let's just jump into things. Chris, who do you have finishing last in this division this year?
Unfortunately, I still have the White Sox last. It's not very competitive, though. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the White Sox make that jump this year and don't finish last, because they actually made moves, and it kind of looks like this grim 3-year period is maybe behind them, or they're on their way out of it. I think they have a good chance of not losing 100 games this year. And I mean, they've got some pretty good young guys on this team. Colson Montgomery, my favorite, star shortstop. There's been comparisons to Gunnar Henderson and Bobby Witt. I liked what I saw out of him last year and what I watched of the White Sox. So keep an eye out for him. And then a couple guys, Chase Mydroth, who came over in that Garrett Crochet trade. And then Kyle Teal. Kyle Teal?
Yeah.
Kyle, right? Yeah. A young catcher with a lot of potential. So I like these young guys. And then you got Murakami. I mean,
Yeah.
what if he bombs 30, 40 plus home runs? I mean, there's an offense. You got Luis Angel Acuna, who came over from the Mets. Shout out Acuna, my guy. So I like the offensive side. It's more the pitching side that I still think it's, going to be in the 90 loss range, high 90s probably.
Yeah.
Where did you land with the White Sox?
I have them finishing fourth in the division, and the reason being is because they did have a good finish to their season last year, and I do think they're headed in the right direction. We're finally at that point with the White Sox that it doesn't seem like they're just selling everybody. Luis Robert was the last one that was part of that old team. And so it just seems like it's a new chapter going forward for the White Sox. They're no longer trying to lose, it seems like. It seems like they're trying to win games and build momentum for their future. You mentioned some of their young talent that they have on this team. And yeah, I love it. Another guy that's kind of under the radar, Brooks Baldwin. If you haven't looked up his minor league stats, guy tore it up in the minors. He was still low on their prospect rating, so we'll see how he does in his first full season. But I really like a lot of these pieces, and they're all just low risk, high ceiling guys for the White Sox. And even on the pitching side, it's not the greatest, but at least they have Shane Smith and Sean Burke, two guys that have shown really good potential to be good starters in this league. And the White Sox are trying. They went out and they signed Murakami. They went out and signed Sir Anthony Dominguez. This team just isn't in that sell mode anymore, which is why I like them above our next team we're talking about, which is the Minnesota Twins. That's who I have as finishing last in this division. And to put it simply, it's because they're in the opposite direction of the White Sox. This team is breaking down. They are fully going towards rebuilding this team. Just a couple guys on this roster like Byron Buxton and Joe Ryan, who I just think are going to be gone by the trade deadline. With the Twins, they may have a good or a better start to the season, but I think it's going to trickle off and be a complete terrible, terrible team by the end of the season once that trade deadline happens. And I think the White Sox jump them.
I agree with the trajectory. I do think they'll start. I mean, their owner and management has come out and said that they're trying to put a competitive team out there. They do have some promising guys. I really like Luke Keeschel. He had a really good year last year. He had an injury. He came up, was on fire, had an injury, and came back the last month of the season and just tore it up. Sleeper for fantasy. Watch out. And Royce Lewis is allegedly healthy, so if he could do something and kind of get back to what his potential could be, I mean, they could have a couple guys, but yeah, it's just from top to bottom. You look at this lineup and it's rough.
Yeah, Josh Bell is their first baseman. I feel like whatever team Josh Bell is on, they're probably going to finish last.
Yeah. Yeah, poor Josh Bell.
Hey, look, I mean, he's made a great career for himself, but he just always is on bad teams.
I thought Josh Bell was like 40 years old. He's only like 35 or yeah. He's been on the 1-year deal on the worst team in baseball, somewhere in the middle of the country for the past 10 years.
Yeah, I don't care what the Twins are trying to tell their fans that they're trying to put a competitive team out there. I think that's all a bunch of baloney. I fully expect, like I said, those guys, Byron Buxton and Joe Ryan, as long as they're healthy, to be shipped out by the deadline. And then guys like Josh Bell, Bailey Ober, and Ryan Jeffers, if they have a good first half of the season, I think they're gone as well. I just think we're going to continue to see a fire sale.
Sign the sheriff, Andrew Chafin. Big signing. That was their big signing this offseason. The sheriff.
Big.
Sheriff's in town, watch out.
Another trade piece.
Yeah, he always gets traded. He always gets traded.
All right. What team do we want to jump on next?
Well, I do think this is close. Number 2 and number 3. I have the Guardians at number 3. And the main reason is because their offense is rough. I'm not going to lie. There's 4 players in their projected starting lineup per Fangraphs that I don't really know who they are. Maybe, like, I've seen the name, but I don't really know who they are. Right? Their starting lineup is currently Quan, Valera, J-Ram, Mazzardo, Hoskins. Didn't realize Reese Hoskins signed with them.
Their only signing.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
DeLauder, Arias, Bo Naylor, and Ricino. Don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's the offense for me. And I mean, we see this year after year with the Guardians, right? Their offense, they're not putting out a competitive offense. They're relying on their pitching and their strong bullpen. I still love their bullpen. Cade Smith is one of my favorite players in baseball, and I really like Gavin Williams. I think he's going to break out. I don't mind their staff.
Yeah,
it's pretty close with the Royals, but I think it was the offense for me, for the Guard Dogs, that it's just going to be another rough offensive year for them.
Yeah, I also have this being really close between the Guardians and the Royals for that 2 or 3 spot. I ultimately put the Guardians at number 2. And the reason is because Stephen Vogt is their manager. I doubted them last year, didn't think they were going to win the division last year, and guess what? They won it. Mm-hmm. He just continually makes a team better than what they are on paper. Even though it's early in his managerial career, I think he's one of the top managers in baseball. So I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to the Guardians, put them at that number 2 spot. Like you said, I do like their pitching. Gavin Williams is a ace in this league. Mm-hmm. And then guys like Tanner Bybee and Logan Allen, they could make strides forward to be better and more along the lines of what we thought we were going to get from them. And then their bullpen is still good. You know, Cade Smith filled into that closer spot really well last year. So I'm going to put the Guardians at 2. All right. And J-Ram, man, when you have J-Ram on your team,
keep carrying him.
It's a pretty solid guy to have in the middle of your lineup.
Yeah. Class act J-Ram.
Yeah, so with that being said, let's look into the team that is competing with them for maybe that second spot, maybe a potential wild card spot, it's the Kansas City Royals. I have them at number 3. You have them at number 2. Tell me what you like about the Royals.
Yeah, I like their pitching staff. I also don't like their lineup, but I'd say it's probably slightly better than the Guardians, and same with their pitching staff. Slightly better than the Guardians. They also have a strong bullpen, in my opinion. I mean, Cole Reagans, Chris Bubich, Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha, Noah Cameron. They got Bailey Falter. They currently have him in the bullpen, but he could slide in as a starter. He has experience pitching in Pittsburgh. So, I mean, that's 6 solid MLB starters. You still have Estevez and Urseg in that bullpen. Strahm came over from Philly, so I think their bullpen's even a bit stronger than it was last year. So the pitching's really standing out for me. Then you got the questions: can Jack Caglione break through? Can the Pasquatch, Vinny Pasquantino, have that like next level year?
Yeah.
Maybe a bigger power year?
Yeah. They're bringing in the fences.
Yeah, saw that.
At Kauffman Stadium. So I think big potential for Pasquantino to provide more of a power bat in that lineup. Maybe that helps Caglione as well.
Yeah.
Maybe it helps him break through and become a staple in their lineup. But yeah, my biggest problem with the Royals is it's just a lot of what ifs. It's a lot of question marks. It's just a lot of if this guy can take that next step, then I like them. I think I do like their roster better than the Guardians, but again, I'm not going to doubt the Guardians again.
Guardians always find a way.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable how they find a way every year. They like the Brewers. And the Rays. Just seems like those 3 teams are just always over 500. It's insane.
Out of the big names like Caglione, like Noah Cameron, like Reagans, a guy to watch out for is Carter Jensen. Mm-hmm. He had a really good first 20 games last year. Now, I mean, that's not saying much, but he also had a very good minor league production. He's going to be that DH/catcher position with Salvador Perez. I would like to see him have a breakout year. If he can do that and Caglione makes that next step, Pasquantino's putting 30 bombs out there, look out. This team could be a wild card spot.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, with all these AL Central teams, I wouldn't be surprised if the Royals win the division. I really wouldn't be that surprised if they got last.
Last? The Royals?
It's just they're not going to get last, but I wouldn't be shocked is my point. Like, you look at other divisions, the team that you have in the 2 or 3 spot, you'd be shocked if they would be last. But like, this division is just so, like, the offense is so bad. When offense is that bad, it's kind of like anything can happen in my mind.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I follow. I don't see them finishing below the Twins. The White Sox, like I said, they have a high ceiling. They could shock some people and put up a pretty good record this year, but the Twins?
High ceiling of 70 wins.
For the White Sox? Yeah.
All right. Let's look at the only team that, I mean, I think we both believe has a chance to make a deep playoff run because of their pitching staff. Again, not a huge fan of their offense, but I personally think the Detroit Tigers, with this pitching staff that they have, they can win playoff games with Skubal, with now Framber Valdez in that lineup, and Jack Flaherty, who's been a solid playoff pitcher in his career.
You forgot to mention Justin Verlander. Your Detroit Tigers ace, Justin Verlander.
How cool would it be if Verlander comes back and wins a World Series in his last year?
Look, Verlander had an amazing second half of the season last year. So at 42 years old, at the dog days of the MLB, this man was putting up, I think his last 7 games, he had like a 1.99 ERA.
That's nuts.
for the second half of the season, his ERA was in the low threes. Like, Verlander was really good in the second half of the season. The Giants just were not good, and so he didn't get a lot of attention. But, yeah, this pitching staff with the guys you mentioned, with Casey Mize at the 5 spot.
Yeah, can Casey Mize tap into something finally?
I mean,
it'd be nice to see.
It's good. And they went out and they brought in some guys for their bullpen. They're older. Kenley Jansen, Finnegan, and Will Vest all have closing experience. The pitching is going to carry this team. And I think there's enough on the offensive side to provide runs and provide enough offense to get them this division. Guys like Riley Green, Gleyber Torres, Spencer Torkelson, Kerry Carpenter, Cole Keith. There's guys in this lineup that are really good and solid players. There's other parts that aren't great, but I think it's enough matched with their pitching staff to be a really good AL team this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the offense a lot more than the other offenses in this division.
Yeah.
I really like Riley Green. I mean, he's
stud.
He broke out last year, had over 30 home runs. I think he broke 100 RBIs. He was right around the 100 RBI mark last year. So if he keeps improving and Torkelson can kind of lean into his power, I mean, this offense, we saw it last year in the first half of the year. They're the best team in baseball. And then the offense just went quiet. So some streaky guys on this team. But I think with the pitching, it's going to be enough. I like the staff. I like the bullpen. I think if they're in contention, they add bats at the deadline and could be a competitive AL pennant team.
Yeah, that's the biggest question mark for me for the Tigers is just what are they going to do at the deadline? Like, is Skubal staying? Was this Framber Valdez signing just a replacement for Skubal? Because if you're going to trade him, it's probably this deadline that he gets moved. And so, yes, they're the number one team, but how does their team look like finishing the year? It just seemed like that was a replacement. All for it, if the Tigers do decide to invest into Skubal, then this team, can be very, very, very good for years to come.
I don't see it happening though. I think it's a soft replacement. It's that 1 year overlap where Framber's the replacement, and they need to win the World Series this year. If they don't, they're not gonna go into rebuild mode because they've said they like their prospects, they like the guys, they want to lean on the talent that's already within the organization. You know, the Colt Keys, Kerry Carpenter, Zach McKinstry's, and really try to, elevate them into above average players. So we'll see. But this is kind of the year. I don't see any way they re-sign Skubal.
He's an unrestricted free agent next year.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do?
It
seems like a disaster either way, because if you trade him and then give up on this season, then, that stinks as a Detroit Tigers fan. But if you don't sign him to long term and you're just letting him walk next year in free agency, then you just missed out on getting a ton of assets for him.
Yeah. The stakes are high. They have to, if they buy at the deadline, they have to win the World Series or it's a failure.
Right.
It's a failure.
It's World Series or bust if you hold on to Skubal. I think so.
Maybe he'll throw his arm out in the World Baseball Classic and it's just an absolute disaster.
What would that benefit anybody? Who would that benefit?
No one.
Exactly. No one would be benefited by it.
It's even more of a disaster.
Just rooting for the Tigers' downfall secretly. This division is boring. This division is really boring.
It's boring. They're not fun to watch on TV. I was considering keeping Riley Green in my fantasy keeper league, and I'm like, I don't want to watch the Tigers. I had him all last year, and I don't want to watch the Tigers. They're not fun to watch.
You don't want to
Sorry,
see,
Tigers fans. I'm just shitting on all your players.
You want to see Javier Baez strike out 3 times in the game? Every game?
5 times.
5 times. Maybe. Yeah. Thanks for watching us break down the AL Central. Until next week when we tackle the AL East, this is Baseball Coast to Coast.
Don't fall asleep watching AL Central games this year. Colson Montgomery!